So, folks, Jamaica's economy could be negatively impacted by Florida's new remittance regulations, requiring senders to show proof that they're not undocumented immigrants. Zooming in to share his thoughts on this is the Chief Executive Officer of Qantas Capital, Dr. Adrian Stokes. Morning, friend. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Good morning.
Great to see you. I was reading and preparing for this, and I kind of go, US $3 billion a year coming to Jamaica by remittances? Anything go so?
Yes, over USD $3 billion are sent to Jamaica on an annual basis. Quite significant.
Is this our biggest revenue earner next to tourism, also?
Next to tourism, yeah, it's actually quite significant. Approximately 16% of GDP. So very, very significant for us.
And how significant, Dr. Adrian, would this news coming out of, say, Florida right now, the United States, obviously, but Florida right now, that if you can't prove that you are legally in the United States, you can't send. How significant is that?
Well, quite significant because the remittances serve two purposes. They serve as, let's say, an income source for many Jamaican households. It's what put food on the table for many Jamaicans. So that's quite significant. And then at a macro level, it's also very important in terms of it helps the economy to pay for critical goods and services that are imported into the country. So any material fallout in remittances will have a sizable impact. But we should point out nonetheless that it's still very early days. We still do not know how this thing will play out. There are many things that we need to find out to really get a sense of what the impact will be. For example, we are not certain the amount of remittances that are sent by illegal immigrants. We need to ensure, we will need to see how other states, for example, adopt any kind of proposals or law to limit illegal migrants from sending remittances. Also, something that you have to consider as well is whether or not a black market will develop for sending remittances. For example, you can have legal citizens who will serve as somewhat, let's call them a broker, and they will send the remittances and charge a fee from those persons who are not signed off to send remittances. Also, keep in mind that people could go to other states as well to send remittances. So way too early, and I think we need to point that out to the listeners that while your viewers, while remittances are fairly significant in terms of the overall impact on Jamaica at this time, it's still too early to say.
What I find interesting, Dr. Stokes, is that data up to October 24 from the BOJ shows inflows falling. I was surprised when I read this just now because we said 3 billion in, 2021, but there's been fall off since that time. What do you attribute that to, and how would that affect us? And now within the context of that, these additional layers that may be added, what are the implications?
Right. So remittances ebb and flow. You would expect employment situation in the US to play a role to the extent that the labor market in the US is cooling quite significantly for over a year. So you would expect that to show or to reflect in remittances. The good thing that we need to outline for Jamaica is that we have the net international reserves, and that stood at $5.6 billion at the end of December. This is somewhat of, let's call it a piggy bank for Jamaica. FX, right? Which in the short term, if there were to be any adverse impact coming from laws passed in the US, then that the NIR could serve as a very useful buffer. So again, in the medium near term, there aren't significant risk at a macro level. Not to say that there won't be at the micro level in terms of individual households. Persons, will have to amend their circumstances. But again, way too early to say what the impact will be.
How long can that NIR last us, Dr. Stokes? I mean, we don't want to find out, but
Right. Let's just say that at $5.6 billion, it is quite significant. It's quite robust and could well last us for cover close to a full year of imports into the country. So very, very significant. Notwithstanding, if there were to be any kind of prolonged fallout in remittances, then NIR clearly will come under stress, and the government would have to have a significant policy response.
You've covered almost everything and what might happen, what might not happen, but what do you think? What do you think? Because there's been a lot of pushback against the president's movements for certain things in certain states. What do you think? You think it really going to reach the stage that money going to stop? Well, we not everyone in the United States is illegal, obviously, but what do you think might happen?
The issue of immigration is quite significant in the U.S. A lot of robust measures are being put in place to curb illegal immigration. And therefore, in some states, you could see some movement towards curtailing remittances because that's a significant outcome from immigration or persons going to the U.S. So, as I indicated before, in terms of the overall impact on Jamaica, it's a bit complicated because I do not believe all states will respond in the same way. You have states that are more, let's say, immigrant friendly, and I doubt will adopt the kind of robust measures that are being debated in Florida. So that could
Florida
serve
is a different kettle of fish for sure. What about implications on the remittance companies themselves, Dr. Stokes?
Well, again, they will see to the extent that, and again, we have to remind viewers, to the extent that this thing is put into law and it happens, then they will see a reduction in the flows coming through their entities. Again, in terms of the impact, too early to say, because at this point, we still don't know what proportion of remittances illegal immigrants send globally and specifically to Jamaica.
So to the 28% of Jamaican households who receive remittances regularly, you would say, don't worry, yet?
Well, not yet, but obviously you can turn on your TV and you will see that the issue is real. A lot of effort to curb illegal immigration. And this is one of the areas that is certainly at risk. As I indicated before, I would doubt that you would see it become a somewhat, let's say, a national policy in the US. I think it will be state-driven. And to the extent that you have red states and blue states, and therefore some states that perhaps might be more accommodating to remittances and not as robust at migration, then that could serve as some kind of ease. Notwithstanding, as a country and in terms of our individual circumstances, it's good to look at what we're doing and to enact buffers, if not policies, to minimize any kind of material fallout that could or may come from this issue.
Yep. Again, as we leave, you've covered it already, but knowing our people, we will find ways to get around this, I'm certain. Thank you so much. God bless you and the family. Look after yourself. Director.
No problem. Take care.
Yep.
CEO of Qantas Capital.
Yep.
Dr. Adrian Stokes. What's next, Nev?
Well, Director General of the Jamaica Red Cross, Yvonne Clark, will speak with Sim about her life of service. Here she is. Soon come.